What is going on? Are the Jets going to trade McCall Hardman? Is this a New York Jet being traded before the trade deadline? What will we get for him if we're really trading him at all? I don't know. I mean, I can be crazy. I can be out of my mind and not know what I'm talking about. But I hear that we might trade McCall Hardman. That's the rumor. We'll talk about that amongst other things when we get back. I promise we will.
And now, welcome to Pride and Chaos.
Welcome to the darkest year of our adventures. Oh, yeah!
And now, give it up for Jeremy and Nick.
Now you scared me.
And as usual, Nick is wrong.
Why are you the way that you are? God, I can't stand you.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Whoa, that was cool.
What's up, bro?
Everybody, how you doing, Nick?
How are you, man? How's everyone in the chat doing?
I see
Dude.
a lot. I see people here already in the chat, already here, ready to go. I noticed Twisted has a lot to say today. He's asking me already not to take my clothes off. Grandizer is here. Tony Alexio is here. I even see you in the chat. I see Billy Bilstein. I've heard a lot about this dude.
The legend?
Apparently, he's friends with Matt O'Leary. So I think we have to make him a moderator, right? I mean, he's friends with Matt O'Leary.
Your name dropping is your first comment.
I know. We got Todd in the chat. Good old Todd. What's going on, buddy? We got my niece, Leah Cravat. We got Braden all the way from New Zealand, way down on the mic. He's here. Matthew Smith is here. He's a moderator on many a channel. Matthew Smith, many a channel.
He's big time.
He's big time. He's a big time guy. And here we are, Nick. There's Mark Reese. What's going on, Mark? Everybody's
Hello.
just calling in here, but to get things started, I don't know, Nick. How you doing? How you feeling? How you feeling right now?
I'm excited. I'm excited. It's still victory week. We don't win a lot with this organization, so I'm still enjoying the win on Sunday. It's sad news with Elijah Vera Tucker, with him being injured, and there's rumors of Collins being brought in for a workout. The Giants worked them out too. So, Mitchell came in. He did a good job with the line and filling in. Him and Tittman did a really good job on Hall's long run. Listen, Philly can be had, man. Philly can be had. They're not dominating like they were last year. They're not going up 17-0 right away. They got some injuries. Nakobe Dean's out. They can be had. And if we control the clock, we control the ball. We give the ball to Breece Hall 20-something times again. Yeah. I like our chances, man. We got a puncher's chance with this team because Hall can score from anywhere at any time. Garrett can score from anywhere at any time. Well, let's see how it plays out. We'll talk about all that and much, much more. Dom will be on with us in the second hour. We changed up the format a little bit for you guys in the chat. Not Billy Bilstein, but Billy SBC last week was upset we didn't get the comments on in the chat until later in the show. So the format today, we're gonna review the game from 9:10 to 9:30, from 9:30 to 10:10. We're gonna give you guys the coach's presser. And then Dom will come in from 10:10 to about 10:45. We'll preview the Eagles. Remember, if you guys want to get your comments on the air, stay on topic. If we're talking about the game ahead, don't keep talking about the game from the past in the chat and vice versa. You know, if we're discussing what Dom sees on film, don't bring up top 5 receivers in Jets history. It's the comment's not going to get up. And if you do want to get a comment up, Jeremy, tell them how they skip the line and pop up immediately.
Well, there is something called a super chat. It does support the channel. It does help keep the lights on.
You know, what's that?
It's where you just randomly give money, but we don't just make people. We obviously don't make people give super chats. We just appreciate them, and in return, like most channels, of course, we would never allow a super chat to go unread, right? I mean, usually we're going to rush and we're going to read a super chat as soon as we can, but also we do a little things differently on this channel. We're willing to do different weird things for super chats. So if somebody decides that they want me to do something moronic to embarrass myself, and they're willing to pay money to see me embarrass myself, I have no problem allowing that to happen. I will embarrass myself for super chats, because we got to fund the channel somehow. So whether it's insisting I take my shirt off, which has already happened. Unfortunately, I don't have the face paint, but whatever it is, do you need me to do a strip routine and take my shirt off to music? I mean, whatever it is, you guys just put out the requests.
Is that what we're doing tonight? Is that what's happening?
Oh, it'll happen if that's what people want. People might come up with a different idea. I mean, Braden's in New Zealand. He might say, down here, this is what we do to humiliate each other, Mike. I'll give you $30, or if you collect $30 in super chats, then do this: eat a Dunkin' Donut and sniff it with your nose. You never know what the request is going to be.
All right, I'll throw something out right now. If we get $500 in super chats tonight, you and I will redo the Chris Farley, Patrick Swayze, Chippendale scene. When we are in person, we will record the Patrick Swayze, Chris Farley, Chippendale scene from Saturday Night Live. Has to be tonight, one night only.
That seems well worth it. Fierce Grim is in the house. Good to see you, buddy. And Tony Alexia was saying, don't do it, Jeremy. Don't do it. Chaos. Don't do it. Twisted is saying, no. How much for Jeremy to bob for apples? I'm trying to think if I have a big enough. I have a pan downstairs. I don't have apples, but I have pluets, like plums. For those of you who are not in California, they call plums pluets out here. So I'm sorry for that. Sorry. I didn't mean that. So I got to remember who I am. I have plums downstairs. I'll put them in a stainless steel bowl in water and go bobbing for plums if we get to $50 in super chats tonight.
Yeah. I saw Grandizer's comment. Grandizer, unfortunately, I got a timing schedule conflict now between 8 and 9 with where I live, from 7:30 to like almost to the show starts. I'm unavailable. So that's why we had to push it back. Jeremy was courteous enough to grant me that request and move it back to start time of 9 on the East Coast. So we apologize, but that's the great thing about YouTube is that every video is available. If you missed a live for any show, you can always go back and watch it. So we appreciate you showing up, buddy.
Yeah. Daniel Meehan, thank you. I know it is. I mean, there is a war going on, in the world, and there's a lot of suffering. And, although we don't talk politics and we're not going to have a discussion about taking sides or anything like that, I do not think it's political, obviously, to acknowledge when, our sadness and our prayers to people in the world who are suffering. And there's obviously, everybody knows what happened in Israel. Everybody knows what happened to a lot of children, women, elderly, people who can't defend themselves. It was pretty barbaric. The response now is impacting innocent people as well, because, there's 2 million people in the Gaza Strip and they're being held by the same evil people. A lot of people just like you and me wanting to just live a happy, safe life. And they're going to be victims. There's going to be a lot more death and casualties of innocent people. So our prayers go to all of them. But these are monsters, and I think America and Israel are united, and the rest of the Western civilized world is united in that it's time to get rid of the people and eliminate the people that would do this to children. And, it's just unacceptable.
I know you beg me a lot off the air. Nick, don't get political. Nick, don't ever do anything. I'll just say that. I will summarize it with this. Those who voluntarily want to strike fear and evil into the hearts of women and children and not do it under the guidelines of a normal war, I pray you get everything that you have coming to you.
Yeah.
You want to meet your maker? I hope we can arrange that meeting for you. That's all I'll say.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, I think a lot of us feel the same way. I mean, and people feel a lot of different ways about what's going on there. And there's a lot of wrongs. There's a lot of wrongs going on over there. But right now, at this moment, that was beyond anything acceptable for anyone, no matter how you feel. There's just no accepting of that.
Yeah.
And for whatever wrongs that there are there, that is just not the way to address it and not the way to approach it. And it's just unacceptable. And thank you for that, Daniel. We're right there with you. We're right there with you.
There's some things that transcend the sport. There's some things that transcend life and deserve a moment of sincerity. And then we're not blind to that. Yeah. So absolutely. Great comment, Daniel.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been very, very upsetting, obviously for a lot of us. So, yeah. Moving forward though, that's what's great about this channel, right? And that's what's great about these content channels for us Jet fans and even Miami Dolphin fans, and all the YouTube channels, is that we get to escape that. So, sometimes that's why when people say, oh, how could he watch football or focus on football at times like this? There's a lot of crap in this world. There's a lot of crap that go in our personal lives. And this is one of those escapes. This is one of the things we can come together and talk about something that makes us happy and is a distraction to some of those things. And, that's why we have this. To me, that's what it's for. It's to just, it's for something that we can just enjoy together in our lives. And unfortunately, it's been a while since we get the goal that we want, whether you're a Dolphins fan, because I know there are a few here, or a Jets fan. We haven't had the desired goals from our teams. But I think both teams are in better position and going in the right direction than they have in a long time. So let's talk smack to each other and enjoy it.
Yeah, Granddad's right. I see your follow-up comment. It's unfortunate. But the way life is structured for me right now, there's certain things with where I live that I have to comply by. And unfortunately, we have a house meeting now on Wednesdays from 7:30 to 9. And I have to be at it. That's where I live. I'm sorry that it's a conflict for you. I apologize. You can hate me.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately. I mean, look, there's no way to there's no way to adjust it to please everybody. Some people, the truth is the numbers got lower when we moved to the earlier time slot, because I attracted and built an audience that doing it later was more convenient. And then we, went back to the 9 o'clock slot because we just have a conflict. And I'm not going to change the night, so it is what it is. I know you guys won't enjoy it live. I'm sorry for everyone that doesn't get to watch this show live that wants to. And I'm honored and feel privileged and humbled that there are those of you that want to watch the show live and even have that opinion. That's humbling to me, because I appreciate that you like the show, that you'd even, put that out there. So thank you. And we're doing the best we can, and we'll put out as much content as we can. And hopefully there'll be other times that we put out that content where you could join us live.
Twisted has a funny comment. Nick's on parole. No, listen, I'm an open book. Everyone knows yesterday was not everyone knows, but yesterday was 7 months sober for me. And I've decided this stage in my life, thank you, sir, that it's best for me in my situation to live in a sober home. And we have a house meeting once a week, and then go over finances and check in on everybody and make sure everyone's on the up and up and doing what they need to do. So that's important to me. So unfortunately, it was a little bit of schedule conflict, and I didn't want to bail out of the show on Jeremy, and he was gracious enough to say, we'll make it work. So I don't like talking nice about him, and I've done it once already about Israel, and now with this, all right, we got to go on to the Jets.
Mark Reese is ready to go.
I can't like you too much. Exactly, Mark. Exactly. The same exact moment. So, how the hell does Quincy Williams not win Defensive Player of the Week? You know why?
Why?
Because Max Crosby was on national television on Monday night, and the votes went there. Quincy Williams deserved the AFC Defensive Player of the Week, and I'm chapped about it, damn it.
Really?
Let's get into the game film segment here.
I mean, Max Crosby was pretty phenomenal too.
Hey, he was.
Yeah, and I'm not being a hater. I'm not turning on my own guy. It doesn't, it's like I'm thrilled about Quincy Williams, and I would have loved for him to win that honor. He came from the junk pile. People had given up on him, and he's worked his way all the way up to where we have a legitimate argument that he was the defensive player of the week. But I'm also not going to be unreasonable that Max Crosby was pretty outstanding. I watched that game, and I was pretty blown away by his play too. Too bad they can't share it because, I think Quincy was as good as we could ever ask him to be on Sunday.
Phenomenal. And good kudos
phenomenal.
to him, right?
Yeah.
Some people didn't want him brought back. I know they won't raise their hand now. They won't put it out on Twitter. They're old takes. They're bad takes. But Quincy Williams is playing, and it's not bullshit. It's not Ulbrich and Salah blowing smoke up people's ass. He is legit playing like the best linebacker in the NBA. Yeah, you could put the 49ers linebackers, both of them, in that conversation. But right now, what Quincy is doing is really, really impressive. That's what you get with this scheme. You find guys, you draft the defensive linemen, and then you find linebackers in the middle rounds or guys off the scrap heap, and you bring them in, and you coach them up, and you watch them evolve, and you don't give up on them. Robert Saleh said the other day in a press conference, our job as coaches and teachers is to coach these guys up and make the most out of them. Our job doesn't stop, either if it's for our own organization, our own staff, or if it's for the next staff. Our job is to coach and teach these guys the best of our ability. So it's a good thing that they didn't give up on him. I'm very happy. He could be one of the biggest bargains in the NFL with that 3-year deal.
Yeah, no, he's right.
Yeah, 24, 3 for 25. It was a very good deal, right?
Yeah, if he plays at this level even for this year and next year, then even in that following year, if he dropped down a bit, it was an amazing contract. Not that he will. I mean, he could be great all 3 years, but it's definitely, we're going to talk. Everybody loves to talk about JD's failures. Let's talk about some of JD's successes. Because that contract is beautiful. Finding him was beautiful. Bryce Huff, who also played an incredible game, you undrafted free agent. That's amazing. And then you look on the other side. Did Breece Hall get an award? Was he Offensive Player of the Week? I don't know.
He wasn't. He was it's a fan vote, so I take it with a grain of salt, but he was the FedEx Ground Player of the Week.
Okay. Whatever it was, another JD pick that has panned out. So when you look at where the contributions are coming from, it's coming from guys that we've either developed or drafted, undrafted free agents. It's pretty impressive. It's like, I know we've had setbacks and we're having all the bad stuff, but at the same time, it hasn't been often in our history. We could talk about all these players, young players that we've either drafted or developed. And there's a lot of these guys now that we've, like Sherwood had made a great play during the game. And it's like, that's a guy that we drafted, 4th, 5th round and developed. That's exciting stuff. That's exciting
Look
stuff.
at the evolution of Huff. Look at Huff's evolution.
Yeah.
There was. Go ahead. Talk about Huff for a second. I want to pull. I don't want to get the numbers wrong because the numbers are amazingly impressive.
Yeah, I'm sure that what you're going to see is Huff had another game of a high win percentage, high number of pressures. I mean, he was just on it all day, all game long. Yeah,
I got it. It's from Harrison Glazer. Micah Parsons, who a lot of people talk about Defensive Player of the Year candidate, gets a QB pressure every 8.2 snaps he plays. Nick Bosa, who's won, I believe, a Defensive Player of the Year, gets a pressure every 8.1. Aiden Hutchinson, every 8.8. Max Crosby, 9.3. TJ Watt, 11. Bryce Huff gets a QB pressure every 4.5 snaps he plays. Now, you have to take it into consideration. He's a pass rush specialist. A lot of those guys are on the field more often, and they're on the field for rundowns as well. But that's a really impressive number for a guy who was undrafted. I mean, we could be looking at a guy that we found on the scrap heap. Nobody wanted him. The 31 other teams didn't want him. We didn't want him, and we found him, and we've developed him. After this game, and he was used as a spy on Wilson. He was used as a spy a little bit on Mahomes. I expect to see him used as a spy this week with Hurts, who can also get out of the pocket. I think you do not let him hit the market. I think you sit down with him during the bye week and his representative and say, hey, we want to get a long-term deal done, whether it's short, long. We know Carl Lawson's going to be gone. You see what JJ and Huff do together as a tandem. McDonald is right behind developing. I expect us to add another young pass rusher next season as well. This just what this scheme and organization does. They're going to add pass rushers and offensive linemen in every draft. So get to the table early. Don't let it linger into the offseason. Get this guy pen to paper in the bye week and let's lock him up.
Yeah. I mean, look, and a lot of people didn't see it coming. People didn't like Quincy Williams when we got him. People took shots at him, pot shots at him. A lot of, even up until the offseason, people were talking about signing the other guy, Quanell, and not signing Quincy Williams. And Gitmo Bob, no respect for him, no respect for Quincy Williams. It would insult our linebacker room. They're not doing enough, Gitmo Bob. But now they're being proved wrong. And Quincy Williams is becoming, an incredible asset to our team.
Yeah. Quincy, Huff, Tony Adams. You're looking at guys that make the difference between a 10th to 15th ranked defense in the league and guys that put you in the top 5 year after year. It's kudos to the organization, scouting department, the coaches, not only finding them, but having the faith to put them in. So, well, let's cover more of the Denver game. Offensively, Becton went down, missed 6 snaps, came back in. It was a good sign to see him come back. He's listed as limited as practice, but he should be on the line again. Mitchell right now will be starting at right tackle. Tippmann's okay. I know he went into the tent at the end of the game. Salah said on Tuesday, Tippmann's fine, cleared, no issue. Would have went back into the game if it was called for. DJ Reed will be back. So, you need Reed and Sauce together for this game. We'll get more into this game later on with Dom. But we got what we wanted 2 weeks in a row, right, Chair? 2 weeks ago, it was, let Zach throw the goddamn ball. Let Zach throw it. Why are we putting an NFL quarterback out there to not throw? You can't play handcuffed. Went out and played phenomenal against the Chiefs. 19 out of 26 in this game, 199 yards. The one interception I don't put on him. I feel that Garrett shouldn't have tried to cradle it. If he would have hand caught that, it's not an interception, and that's the game. The part that I really love about that, and I mentioned it on my channel yesterday or Monday on Victory Monday with you, 3rd and 5, twice on that drive and 3rd down. How many times have we seen the Jets 3rd down, just hand it off, punt it away? No. 3rd and 4, boom, we're going to hit Conklin for 30-something yards, right? Who's dragging guys. He's still dragging half of Denver behind him. 3rd and 5, they put it in Zach's arm again. That's showing you they have confidence in the kid to make the throws. That Hackett and Salah are being confident enough in Zach. How many times did we see a handoff, a screenplay that everyone knew was coming, just a play that had no chance? They're letting him play quarterback in the NFL. Now, this week, what did we all call for? As soon as Salah said, there's no more pitch count. My number was 18. Give him 15 carries, give him 3 catches. Let's get him 18. He had more than that. He had 22 carries. Oh, $177, a 72-yard touchdown. You give this guy 20 carries a week, he will break 1. He had a comment today, Jared said, I should have had 3 touchdowns on Sunday. Meaning that he knows he's not where he's supposed to be yet, which is really awesome for us and scary for the opposition. That he's that confident and he knows I'm not where I need to be yet. I busted 177. I could have had 270 if I break those other 2 runs. So it's really awesome with what we have.
The fact that he could look back at the game and look at what he didn't do or what he believes he could have done just shows that's what makes a superstar. When you want to talk about the character, the type of human being, because majority of athletes in this league, you rush for 100, you put up a total of 180 yards, score a touchdown, your team wins the game, you're clearly the hero, you're clearly the offensive player, of the entire game, would feel satisfied. Said, well, that's what I could do every week. I'm going to work hard and keep trying to do that. But for him to say, I should have done this, I should have done that, I'm not back where I need to be, I need to be better. I mean, as a fan, can you be any happier to hear someone say that they're still not satisfied, that they want more? And it just adds on to this feeling that I don't know what the ceiling for this kid is. I don't know. Like, I don't know what the ceiling is. I will not put a ceiling on what this kid might do, because I have never seen a football player break this many touchdowns, like when he gets the carries to do it so often, other than maybe Barry Sanders. Like, what other player would, so often in so many games,
Adrian
break
Peterson,
a 60, 70
breakaway.
yard? Yeah,
the breakaway. It's Adrian Peterson, right? That's the best. I think it's Adrian Peterson with better lateral movement, which is amazing, right? When you think about it, like
his
AP would giddy up, he get through that hole, and if you get that hole for him and he gets through the linebacker, he's gone. He'll take an angle, he'll outrun the safety to the sideline, and he's gone. And you're looking at somebody who could be a very unique, rare specimen and talent, even coming off the knee injury less than a year ago. October this weekend would be the time that he did it last year. So it's not even a full year yet. Monday will be a full year from when he did it out in Denver.
Yeah.
And then I did mine October 21st, a couple days later.
Yeah, his style is I definitely, Adrian Peterson has been my number one name I've compared him to. When I look at him and I watch him play. I know Buffalo Jets fans said, and I don't argue it, Edgarian James, which is very similar to Adrian Peterson, right? I mean, like, as far as the build and the strength of the legs and the running style, but the breakaways, the amount of breakaways is just insane to me. It's just it's flabbergasting. I just think that there's never going to be an excuse. There's no excuse not to give this and get the ball to this kid and get it in his hands as often as we possibly can, because he is our greatest weapon, and there's just no excuse not to use him, because every certain amount of times he touches the ball, he's going to do something big.
Yeah.
Whether it's 1 out of every 6 carries or it doesn't matter. There's some number out there the reality of what it is, that he's going to do something big. So you have to keep giving him the ball to make that happen.
Yeah. A couple quick bullet points in my head that I just wanted to bring up from the game. Conklin, phenomenal. It's somebody who I said with Rodgers would be number 2 in targets. He's still number 2 in targets with Zach at quarterback. I love that Cook got bumped down to 3rd in the depth chart for the running backs. Carter, I think, had 15 snaps, and Cook only had about 6. Gibson is taking Hardman's role. All right, let's discuss this. Right here's a hot button issue right now. Hardman.
Mm-hmm.
Fans should be happy that an undrafted guy with a much less salary has been taking his job. I don't mind trading Hardman. I don't mind trading Lawson, because you got McDonald and Gibson, who you want taking those reps anyway.
Yeah.
What's the point of keeping those guys on the team if the rookies, one of them undrafted, is going to take those guys reps? It's better for the team. It's better for us long term if Gibson takes Hardman's spot. It doesn't mean that anyone failed. That means that this kid came out of freaking nowhere and is doing it. Yeah. And they're going to give him more and more plays every week, which is good. You're not going to see Hardman come and take Gibson's spot. Gibson's just going to evolve and grow in the system. Lawson, all right, for whatever reason, man, you haven't been what we expected. You were stout against the run last year. Your back's bothering you this year. You're a healthy scratch this week. All the best to you, man. But sometimes it's just not the right place with JJ and Huff and McDonald. Clemens is more stout in the run than Lawson is. You're losing reps, and we're not going to take those guys off the field. Kudos to the coaching staff. We don't care what you make. We don't care what your paycheck says. So
Yeah.
I fully expect them to both be moved before the break.
Yeah, I don't
even care if it's for nothing.
Right. If we don't trade Carl Lawson, for example, what they should do, if it was me, is I would completely say I don't want you to do anything for 3 weeks except things that don't stress your back. Swim, stay in shape, 3 weeks off. Then if your back is not better, we're sitting you the rest of the year, whatever it is. I mean, there's no point in using you, but if you can get him healthy and have him as a reserve ready to come in if we sustain any injuries. Like if one of our edge rushers gets injured, we'll have Carl Lawson healthy. But to have him keep trying to play and practice and keep this back issue alive doesn't make any sense because he's not good enough to add to the team. But why not just sit him and rest him and get him healthy? Just get him healthy. Yeah. And when you get him really healthy, then he can compete for a spot again, but at least be depth. He'll be a depth piece. He'll be there to add depth to the team, and that's great. But right now, every snap and rep he takes is putting an inferior player out on the field than to what could be out there, and it does not make sense because we're trying to win.
I really believe they're going to try to move Lawson, and that's why he was a healthy scratch. They don't want to take the chance of him getting injured and then not being able to trade him. And it's addition by subtraction. Like, I don't even care if it's a conditional seventh or whatever. Who cares? Gibson and McDonald getting more reps is the win in the trade.
Yeah.
You get rid of the salary and you get young guys who are going to be a part of the team for the next 4 or 5 years at least.
Yeah.
More, they can only be better next year for when we're fully loaded going in for a championship. So I'm all right with we move either one of them. You got anything else before we get into the chats part of the show here?
No. Let's get the.
You got anything else that you want to talk about with the game?
No. I'm the only thing I'll say is I didn't forget about that first half, that first quarter. We have to start games better. You can't play like that for the first 20 minutes of the game. You could do it against Denver and get away with it. You're not going to get away with it against any decent, respectable team. So that's something we have to fix. Figure it out. I don't know what they have to do. Change your procedures before the game. Change the way the team warms up. I don't know. Something has got to change because we cannot spot team. We almost beat them anyway if the refs didn't screw us. But man, we could have won that game against Kansas City if we didn't spot them 17 points. These guys, they got to get it together. We could be really good. But we're opening up the game and we're giving up touchdowns on the opening drive. We're falling behind from the beginning and we're playing catch up. So, that's my one complaint about the game. But, the way they came back in the second half, the adjustments that were made, they were late. It was about time, but they made the right adjustments, the coaches. Yeah. The refs try to screw us and take it away from us, and this time they failed.
Yeah. It's also, you can look at it that way, and you can also look at it in the flip side of it too. There's a lot to be said about a team that doesn't quit when they're down. And throughout the years, we've seen many Jets teams quit when they were down. Yes. And not just the Jets, many other teams, right? We saw the Giants quit a couple games this year already. So it's a lot to be said about the staff and the characters in the building and in the locker room that when things aren't going bad, there's a good confidence about a team that can say, okay, we're down 17. We're not out of this. That mentality is tough to come by in professional sports. Yeah. We see it in baseball. A lot of teams, they throw in a towel. They just go through the motions. They get through the game. NBA, they're down 20. They don't care. But it's a really cool thing to watch this team not quit. It's a team that, pun intended, you can be proud of. So
they even against Buffalo, we were, Rodgers was out. We were down by 10 points. A lot of teams would have folded. And, our defense struggled because of that. We were distracted. We didn't play well right after the injury happened. And then all of a sudden, the team was able to pull it together, and they didn't give up. And I think that's something we should all be excited about because this is a young core of players doing that. So this is not just our team this year. Hopefully, this is going to be the personality of our team for years moving forward. So that's something to celebrate.
And then you see a little bit of an evolution of it in the play calling with Hackett, right? The Kansas City game, they came throwing it right away. You know, they're not babying Zach anymore. They're letting Zach play quarterback, and eventually these plays are going to hit, and then we're going to get up 10-0. And we get up 10-0 with this defense. Holy shit, Jer.
I know.
But all right, ladies and gentlemen, you wanted it, you got it. We bring it out just for you. Do me a favor. It's easier for me when I'm scanning through all the comments. I know some side conversations hit. If you do have a question that you want to get on air, please put a question mark in there because I'm really just scanning for those. But here we are. This is your time to shine, pun intended. And go nuts. Throw out the questions. Throw out whatever you want. And you direct the show for the next 40 minutes until we get Dom on here.
Yeah, come on, guys. What are your questions? What are your comments?
Don't be quiet now. Don't get lock finger now when it's time to type. This is your time to shine. We signed Carl Lawson's
replacement to the practice squad.
I didn't see it.
I didn't know that because I thought that Salah made a joke that he wanted to bring more edges into camp. But maybe I didn't see that we signed someone. I mean, we really don't even really need a replacement for him, right? I mean, we're so stacked at the position anyway. So, you know, it doesn't really matter.
I'm looking now at the Jets. I know the Jets are now. And I saw Irv Charles was elevated.
Fast fuchsia, wide eyes, face fuchsia, wide eyes, face fuchsia, wide eyes. Oh, that's the funny square picture of this little square SpongeBob pictures or whatever.
Oh, no. Here's the moves that we did today. Signed Irvin Charles to the active roster, placed AVT on the IR, signed offensive line Dennis Kelly and D-line Ellerson Smith to the practice squad. I guess that's who he's referring to. And released D-line Jalen Holmes from the practice squad. So good for Irv Charles. First play out there in the NFL, special teams, he pops a fumble out.
Yep. And that wasn't the only play he made that day. He made another play on special teams later on in the game.
Hey, Scorsese, stop directing the show here. When Dom's available, he pops on. Calm down.
Do you know what he did? He Irv Charles also is the one who recovered the fumble, I think. So he didn't only cause a fumble, but he saved the fumble that we didn't lose.
Okay.
So he had a tremendous first game on special. And that's why. And I told everybody was confused. I explained it when people said why Irv Charles. Eccles was hurt. Eccles is a special team guy. They needed to replace that role on the special teams. Irv Charles came in, and I don't think that there's any excuse not to suit up Irv Charles every game because in his first game, only on special teams, he made a major impact on that game.
Yeah. Something I wanted to bring up, you just triggered in my brain, and then we'll get to this question from Harlan. Gibson's got to learn to fair catch the ball. He's got to have a better internal clock on knowing when to wait for the fair catch. I know the sun was an issue there, but don't think you're going to return a punt for a touchdown every time you catch it. Sometimes the fair catch is the right play to move, and it almost cost us. It's not like Harlan with the defense and the rotation they use on the D-line. It's not so much that there's one individual replacement. I just think that those snaps will get spread out amongst others. JJ will get some, Huff will get some, Lawson will get some, McDonald may get some. It's not a take square peg out, put square peg in like a left tackle would be. I just think it's certain situations, certain packages, you'll see different guys pop in and out. So I just think it'll be spread the wealth around.
Yeah.
Tony, I think it is very, very close to happening. I really firmly believe that if we don't see an improvement with speed and agility, why not? Give the kid a chance.
To be fair, don't get me wrong. It drives me crazy when Cook is in the game. But to be fair, he did look faster on Sunday in Denver than he's looked all year. Like he did look a little bit faster. I feel better when Michael Carter's out there, to be honest. But
agreed. I was happy to see that.
Yeah, but he did look a little bit faster. So let's see if that continues or if he goes back to being the slowpoke he's been most of the year.
Yeah. So they're paying too much. No. No. The way Cook is playing right now, you're talking about trading him for a 7 and swapping a 7 with somebody. You're not getting a straight up 7 for him. It's the equivalent of moving up a couple spots in a round, or a 6th for a 7th with Cook and a 6th, or Cook and a 7th for a 6th. That's how little value he has right now out there.
Yeah, and I don't think there was a replacement for Loss. I think the guy they signed replaced the guy that they cut. Like they cut from the practice squad a defensive lineman, and then they added a defensive lineman. Now they may have, that might be the reason that they're making sure they have another defensive lineman is because Lawson's going to get traded. I wouldn't look too into it. I wouldn't analyze it too much. We still have Tenzel Smart on the practice squad, so as far as I know.
Yeah. Yeah, and you saw Woods made he had a nice little impact in the game too. I think.
Oh yeah. Yeah, those are our run stopping guys. You know that Woods and Jefferson have to play a lot on Sunday. I mean, that's our run defense. When Quinnen sits out, like it's Jefferson and actually when Quinnen Williams sits out, it's when Q sits out, it's Solomon that we need in there because he's he's the backup for Quinnen. But I think we're going to see a lot of rotating with Jefferson and Woods throughout in this game. I also think
very curious this week to see how this D line does against one of the best offensive lines in the NFL.
Yeah,
Philly is if not the best. They are there in the top 2 or 3. So I'm very curious to see what we come out with schematically and what we do to free our guys up. Grandizer's question: may we get a brief 2023 Jets rookie watch if their stock is up or down? Baba booey to you, Jeremy and Nick, and all your wonderful viewers. Baba booey to you all too, Grandizer. Baba booey, Baba booey, Baba booey. I think McDonald, from where he was drafted, is down so far. I think Tittman is way up. Tittman's as high as you can be, right, after 3 games. For a guy who changed positions, I think Tittman is an A+ right now.
I'm not worried about Will McDonald.
Izzy's undecided. He hasn't played yet. The corner from LSU hasn't played yet. Charles, minimal impact. Brownlee, minimal impact. Gibson is up, right? Gibson is evolving into a positional player now, not just a special team returner.
Well, yeah. Well, Gibson did something. Obviously, the first game he won us the game with the return, and Irv Charles, like I said, I don't know what would have happened against Denver if we didn't have Irv Charles force that fumble and then recover the fumble. So Irv Charles, in a very limited role of just special teams, made an impact. So that was nice. And these are undrafted free agents.
You can't put a grade on them yet, right? You
No.
can't
I'm not.
I mean, his stock is up, I guess you could say, because he went from not being activated the first 4 weeks to being activated and making an impact. So
yeah,
if you're going down that route, the stock is up from the first 4 weeks. So yes,
sure. And I mean, I don't think there's right now. Obviously, there's Will McDonald's career could have started a million times better. He could have forced his hand because he was so good you couldn't keep him off the field, and he can have multiple sacks right now. But at the same time, I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried that Will McDonald is a bust or anything. I mean, it's very early, and he looks good.
If you go watch the play that Quincy sacked the sack fumble at the end, Will McDonald's spin move opens Quincy's pass rush lane up. So that's part of this scheme is guys giving of themselves to free up somebody else. That's a huge impact that he made. Whether that's called or not, I think that's got to be called because you want to pinch that tackle in to free up the edge and more of a direct route to the quarterback. So great call, great play call, great execution of it as well.
Yeah, there are certain things that don't show up in the stat box, right? I mean, in the box score, like and so and that's a great example of a play that doesn't show up in a box score, but was a very important play. That
you got to be selfless.
Yeah. So
is everyone coming to realization that Conlon is a legit tight end? Yeah, I never had to take Uzoma. I've had some takes that he's not for us. Great leader, great locker room guy, but Conklin was number 2 target last year with 4 different quarterbacks. And you see he's starting to build a chemistry with Zach now, or they're picking up where they left off last year before things went downhill with Zach. But this system and this Hackett, Rodgers, Green Bay system loves utilization of the tight end. And you see that with us getting Ruckert involved, CJ involved, Conklin involved. Conklin's just is the most reliable target right now at the tight end position. And I think it's a very, very good thing that he's on this roster because he starts eating up in the middle of the field like that. You can't slide that safety out anymore to double Garrett. And Garrett's going to have some nice one-on-ones when Conklin starts to eat in the middle of the field. And those two will complement each other very nicely.
Yeah, it's true.
Knob, what's up, buddy? Is it bad that I'm entered in one of Gunny's giveaway and I need a Philly win? Depends what the giveaway is.
How could he be in a giveaway that
if it's a Jets mouse pad, then I hope you don't win. If it's a signed item, then maybe I hope you win, pal.
I mean, how could that be? How could he be part of a giveaway that would make him want to root for Philly? Like, would Gunny do that? Gunny wouldn't have.
I don't know. I don't know what the giveaway is
connected to.
Tony's got a question for you. Are there any Strevler? I'll read it for you, old man. I'm sorry. Are there any Strevler updates?
Is Strevler on the practice squad? I think he is, right?
Is he practice squad or is he injured? I know he was injured with his hand.
Oh, that's right.
I'm not sure if he's IR or if he's practice squad.
Yeah, I don't know if you're going to see Strevler on the roster this year. You know, a lot would have to happen because now they have 3 quarterbacks right now. They have 3 quarterbacks, and one of them is not Strevler. So at best, he's the number 4 quarterback. So you'd have to have 2 guys injured just for him to become. I mean, the third.
He's not going to hit the active roster.
Right.
You brought in Simeon. You have Boyle. You got Zach. It's worse than last year if Strevler gets activated at all.
Well, there would have to be
seriously. Is this what is Baba Booey? The Howard Stern show, the producer Gary Delabate years ago had the nickname they came up with, Baba Booey. So Baba Booey is from the Howard Stern show. If you've never listened.
Yeah, I'm shocked he's asking.
No, it all depends. Are you hoping for him to win? Yeah, I mean, it's a fallback, right, Twisted? Like, you want the Jets to win, but if you win the prize the other way, it's like, all right. No problem, Grandizer. No problem taking the question. Let's see what else we got here. Let me get caught up here with the comments. Todd's got one. What's up, Todd? If the Jets defense put a spy player on the Eagles QB, we will see more delayed blitz packages. I think you have to delay blitz. I think you have to see where the lanes open up. Hurts has no problem tucking that ball and running. And when you get into the X's and O's of it, Reed and Sauce against Smith and Brown should be fun to watch. That's going to be really fun to watch. 2 elite corners, excuse me, against 2 elite wide receivers. You know, this could be the best tandem in the league in terms of talent and how they complement one another. And that goes for both the cornerbacks and the receivers. So I'm very curious to see. And Michael Carter's no slouch as well. So there's going to be times where they're not open and Hurts is going to look to run. And we've been a little susceptible to the quarterbacks running it. So I hope they can find a way to nip that in the butt and end some drives instead of the opposition finding the ways to prolong the drives against us.
Yeah. True.
Nick, those guys get sacks. Daniel, are you behind in the chat from when I was reading the other guys? I think you might be. I think that's comments back when I was reading other names.
Yeah.
How many wins going into the bye?
Oh, he's saying Nick, those guys get sacks for Bryce, but I disagree because I think a lot of it is situational. Like when you say those guys get sacks, I think a lot of it has to do with game situation. And the reason, the teams play us, the way our defense is set up and schemed, it's to get rid of the ball quickly up the mid, like in the middle, like the short yardage, like 4-yard passes, screen passes. So to say those guys get sacks, that's because those guys, like a lot of their sacks come because their team is winning, and the other team is forced to throw downfield, and that's what we were hoping. If Aaron Rodgers didn't get hurt, we'd have an opportunity to see. We thought we were going to have an opportunity to see that, and guess what? At the end of that Denver game, when they needed to throw downfield because they didn't have the clock on their side, we saw a strip sack. We saw and a touchdown. We saw what our defensive line can be. But when we're trailing and we're behind teams and we don't have leads, teams play us. They play the short game against us. So it's very hard to get sacks. So I really think that, if you're looking at a box score, you don't really know what's happening. If you watch the game, Bryce Huff is dominating the game. He's forcing the quarterback to throw the ball too soon. He's a reason why we've only given up one touchdown in the second half in one of the past 3 or 4 games. I mean, there's
one in the last 8.
Right.
That was our first time in 8 games giving up a touchdown in the second half.
Right. So there's a reason for that. And that is because of guys like Bryce Huff.
Yeah. I would like to see us mix some blitzes in earlier in the game. Like, we're very, very effective. And I know you can take the argument of we're more effective with it because it's less common that we're doing it. So it catches teams off guard. But catch them off guard early. What's wrong with getting a sack fumble in the first or second quarter? We don't have to just save it for late in the game. But aside from the Dallas game, we've been in every game with a chance to win. So, I mean, who would have thought we'd been in 4 or 5 games with Zach Wilson, a quarterback? Raise your hand. There's not a single hand going up right now.
A lot of people were not going to be surprised at 2-4, even with Aaron Rodgers. So, and then we were going to start winning. We'll talk about predictions later. I understand we got a difficult week coming back up, and 2-4 into the bye is the way it's looking, but we haven't played that game yet. We have not played that game yet. That game still has to be played. If we were to manage somehow to get into the bye week at 3-3, I think if there's still Jet fans complaining, my head's gonna explode. Because if we manage to get into that bye week 3-3 with Zach Wilson as our quarterback,
I'll complain just to have your head explode. It'll be worth it.
That would be ridiculous. It would be ridiculous to complain. It would be absolutely ridiculous.
I think autocorrect got him here. Will Ruckert get more playing time, and should we put our fullback on the practice squad? No. Tony, go look at the amount of I formation we ran last week with Borden in there. You're going to see more of Borden. I mean, that play that Brees broke, Borden was the blocker. And if you watch from behind, like the Madden view, behind the quarterback, it looked like it was supposed to go left, and then Borden and Brees both slashed back to the right to hit that hole. Borden had nobody to block. He veered out towards a cornerback just to try to get a body on somebody because the hole was so wide open. That's what she said. But when you look at it, they're going to run a lot more because I thought that was very effective. You're going to see more Borden. You're going to see more I formation. I mean, this is just the beginning of Borden and Hall in the backfield together. I don't think you're going to see him get demoted at all, pal.
Well, we have to see if he plays this week, though, because he is banged up.
He's a fullback. He's always banged up. Fullbacks play. Put a neck brace on, you'll be all right.
all he needs is a kiss from his wife.
Me too.
He'll find his way back onto the field if that happens.
Wild Wave asks, what do you all value Cousins in a trade? I don't think we're trading.
It's not going to happen.
I don't. I've said it for a couple weeks now. I've been consistent with it. I do not think we are giving up. We're already losing our number two pick this year in the 2024 draft. I do not see Joe Douglas wanting to give up more assets in next year's draft for a rental. I don't. I don't see us giving up. I don't. Now, something happens to Zach that might change things, but I think they're okay riding it out with Zach and watching him develop and then really know what we have long-term with Zach if he's worth an extension. So I just don't see it happening, man. I'd be shocked, put it that way. I'd be extremely shocked if we give up more future assets. I would say a 3 that can bump up to another 3 or 2 the following year based on how well we do. Yeah, that would be my guess, that it's conditional. We make the playoffs, it's a 3 and a 3 back-to-back years. We make the AFC Championship game, it bumps up to a 3 and then a 2. And then if we make the Super Bowl, it's a 3 that bumps up to a 1 in 2025 draft. But I don't see it happening. I don't see Douglas doing that with the needs that we have on the line and adding some other weapons here. Sorry to say, I'll be back this one. What Jet team will show up on Sunday? I think the same team that showed up every week, minus the Cowboy game. I think you're going to see a team that fights, competes, finds ways, scratch and claw, can break some big plays here and there, can be consistent, not turn the ball over. You know, aside from that fourth quarter in Dallas, Zach's been really good with the ball. That's something that we've all said was a concern. So keep evolving every week. Find ways to get better.
Yeah.
I mean, we should be 4-1 right now.
It could be.
If Whitehead doesn't give up that tight end play in the Patriot game, and the refs don't do what the refs did in that final Kansas City drive on multiple missed calls against them and the phantom call against us, we could be 4-1 right now with a win over the Chiefs. It's not crazy to say we could be sitting at 4-1 right now.
Well, very easily could be. We played well enough to be 4-1, minus a couple of things. You know what I mean? And it's not that that's not true for a lot of teams, for different games. But the reality is, 2 years ago we were getting blown out of games, and we couldn't say that. You know what I mean? Like the difference between this year's 2 and 3 and in the past is that those 3 losses, 2 of those 3 losses could have very easily been wins. Like we were very competitive, extremely competitive, where 1 or 2 plays makes the difference, which means we're very close. We're very close. And we had to adjust to not having our starting quarterback. I mean, we designed an offense around us, Aaron Rodgers, and we literally had to recreate and reinvent our offense. And we've done okay. We've hung in there. And now we got one more super tough game. Our schedule lightens up. It softens up a bit. We have some breathing space. If we come out and execute and do really well and play the way we did against Kansas City, we can have a lot of success and win a bunch of games. Yeah. And we're gonna find out. We're gonna find out.
Yeah. Has Bryce Hall earned a roster spot after last week? I mean, he's still cornerback 5. Eccles is better in the slot as your 4th, with Carter and Eccles in the slot, with Reed and Sauce on the outside. Bryce Hall still CB5. And the only way I think he gets activated is if, I mean, he's still on that verge of matchup week to week. If it's somebody who goes 4 or 5 wide, then maybe he gets activated. But he's your 5th cornerback for a reason. And he showed his value on Sunday, stepping up. And sometimes that's a guy's role. Sometimes you're just a special teamer like Hardy. And other times you're the 5th cornerback like Hall. But you got to be ready when your number's called in this league.
2 years ago, he was a starter. 2 years later, he's still young. He might even be better than he was. And he's the number 5. That's good. That's a good problem when you're like, man, too bad we're wasting Hall. Well, that's a good thing. It means we have a lot of talent on our team. We have so much talent that he's stuck at number 5. That's a good problem.
Yeah. You want this question? I'm not sure if you guys answered this question or not, but what is it going to take for the Jets to start Tim Boyle?
I don't know why anybody would want to start Tim Boyle the way Zach Wilson has played the last 2 weeks. It doesn't make sense to me.
I think it's going to take multiple injuries.
Yeah.
I'm
not calling Zach a superstar, but he certainly played up to the level of a QB2 the past 2 weeks. I mean, like he's certainly been a solid QB too.
You know me. I try to find a positive in everything. The biggest positive that comes out of this season with after Rodgers got injured is, can Zach be a backup and be a guy that we can count on going forward in an event that Rodgers has to miss a little bit of time here and there? And I think you're seeing now there's already been a massive evolution of Zach Wilson. So I think this is somebody who hasn't even had the benefit. And I keep thumping this Bible. He was supposed to be in the practice room. He was supposed to watch the film breakdown. He was supposed to watch the game plan and how do we attack these teams and look for the weaknesses on film. He wasn't supposed to be the guy. So I think it's the best thing to come out of this season for us is winning some games with Zach and knowing that Zach can be a long-term backup. And then who knows, 2-3 years from now, maybe be the guy that steps back in.
Yeah, absolutely. I at least we're getting some value out of him, because I don't know if there was a better number 2 quarterback option right now. Zach Wilson is not even the worst QB1 in the league, right? Even if Zach Wilson was a QB1, if you look at Jordan Love the last 2 weeks, you telling me you'd rather have him playing for you? He's looked horrible. He's looked absolutely putrid. And the list goes on. We could name, quarterbacks who have not been very good. I mean, Justin Fields wouldn't be good on our team because we're built for a pocket passer. That's the struggle for Zach, is we're forcing him to be a pocket passer. That's why he struggled. Justin Fields would be a mess in New York because Justin Fields is very talented, but
they would have ran Justin Fields out already. They would have ran Justin Fields out already. Jets fans and the media would have ran Justin Fields out already.
Right. Well, the point is he wasn't a match for us because they would have tried to get him to be a pocket passer and he wouldn't have been able to do it because he's not a pocket passer. Is he better than Zach in some other systems? Yeah, because he can win you a game with his legs. But the problem is we wouldn't be using him that way. So it doesn't make a difference. We would not be using him that way anyway. And then the young rookie quarterbacks right now in the league aren't doing better than Zach Wilson. So I don't know the way, we were talking about before, if you only watch the Kansas City Chiefs game, if that was the only game you watched and you were a Taylor Swift fan at that game and never watched football, you would say Zach Wilson is the better quarterback than Patrick Mahomes. And that doesn't happen often that you'd say that. So, super chat from Grandizer. Nah, you insulted him just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
A little bit. You put a lot of line of yourself. He loves that line. The Jets are 0-12 versus the Eagles. Crazy. Yeah, it is crazy to never have beaten a team in your history.
Didn't we tie them once in the 70s? Isn't it 0-12-1?
Oh, that might be true.
Did we tie them once, or am I thinking of something else?
I'm not sure. I'm not going to argue it because I don't know. But anyway, it's funny because someone said this is the year we could beat them. And I was like, what are you talking about? This is a horrible example of a year that we could beat them. This is the year that the Eagles just were in the Super Bowl and we just lost their starting quarterback. Like, this is not the year that we'd expect to beat them. But I kind of like that because we thought this was the year where we're supposed to beat New England and we didn't. So sometimes maybe it's better to not be it. Maybe the time we beat New England will be when we're not supposed to beat them. And maybe that'll be this year. Because we don't seem to win games we're supposed to win. Because we certainly did not do that to New England. Everybody else is crushing New England. We couldn't beat them.
Why don't we just run the table? I mean, we chose not to beat them because we chose to play handcuffing the quarterback. You can't tell me after watching that game and watching the last 2 games that they did not just tell Zach, throw the ball away, our defense can beat them. Throw the ball away, our defense can beat them. We'll punt it away repetitively. And now I would love to see what this team – and they're without Judon and Gonzalez, man. They are going to get rolled by a lot of teams without their 2 best players.
And I think we have a much better chance to win in Buffalo because they just lost 2 key defensive players.
Yeah, Milano's a big hit for them.
Yeah, Milano was a big problem when we played
White again, right?
How good did Milano play every time we played them? He was a thorn in our side. And then for them to lose a tackle when we got Breece Hall, that's not good for them.
Yeah.
Right? We're gonna expose that.
Pats are destroyed. Jets should beat them in Week 18. I mean, Pats will be starting orange cones. Yeah. They'll have the garbage cans out there on the D-line with the cones out there as the skilled players.
No, Belichick is gonna play it like the Super Bowl, even if the game means nothing. That guy treats every game against the Jets like the Super Bowl. It's a special thing for him.
The Patriots are pathetic right now. They're
I know.
absolutely pathetic, and I'm all about it. I hope they lose every week, 30-0. I hope that anything they try fails. I hope that any fix they think they have is a bigger disaster than it was. So I am all about this team suffering 1,000 sufferings. I don't want guys to get hurt. I want the guys who are there to play piss poor. I want a constant rotation. I want job insecurity. I want coaching blunders. I want blow-ups on the sideline. I want to watch them be the shit show that they created for other teams.
I do want them to lose every week, except against our other division teams, because we have to root what's best.
You can find a way to beat the Dolphins and the Bills and go, all right, we'll take that, right?
Why is it only us they can beat? Why? Because he I'm telling you, he builds it up like the Super Bowl for that locker room. I'm telling you, he approaches Jet games like no other game in his life. He puts I bet you he's already strategizing for the Jet game. He's already looking ahead. How are we going to beat the Jets and keep the streak alive? We have to find a way to end
Let
that
me
streak.
say goodnight to the boy. Go ahead, talk for a minute.
Okay. So Nick is saying goodbye to the boy. And let's see, is there any more questions? I see that Modine is saying something. I want to give him some love. Good old Modine. You all know how much I love Modine. I really do. I deeply love Modine. Let's see what my good special friends Modine is saying. He's saying the good thing for the Pats is they already have 130 million in cap space, which is crazy. They will load up this offseason. But here's the thing, Modine, and even you could agree with this. It is crazy that they have that much cap space, right? I mean, that's sick. That's a lot of cap space. But here's the thing. The New England Patriots that have dominated the NFL and won 7 Super Bowls in the last 20 years was not a team built on free agency. It was not a team built on free agency. So you have to remember that. A couple of years ago, when New England made that big splash in free agency and spent all that money, and we were all pissed because they beat us to the punch, and they got all those tight ends, and they were making all these big signings. Where did that get them? So you have to remember that and keep that in mind. It's hard to buy a team. The Chicago Bears just spent a lot of money, and they look pretty bad this year. So it's not always easy to buy a football team, because even with all that money, with the way contracts are nowadays, that's only 4 or 5 players, and there's 22 starters on the field, plus special teams. So you have to draft well. You have to fill all the holes. You have to scheme well. Could they be dangerous? Might they sign some guys? Yeah. I'd be more afraid that New England is going to get a top 3 draft pick and get a stud quarterback. And then
I'm not. They haven't proven they could pick offense in the first round, so let them have whatever they want.
Well, it was way too soon in the draft, but I think Strange is a good lineman. I think he ends up like he's a good player. It was weird that they picked. It was
serviceable, but he's not a first round pick.
No. It was weird that they picked.
I mean, we're no Bill Belichick's, but I mean, we had at best a late 3 on him. We had late 3 to early 5.
Oh, well, you saw what the Rams coach did, right? The Rams coach was laughing, saying, we were looking at him for pick 100.
Yeah.
So,
there you go. Instead of us laughing at Belichick, there's a coach laughing at Belichick.
Right. And won that count because he's won a Super Bowl. So
we'll have our look ahead to the Eagles here in a few minutes. Dom's rebooting his computer, and then he'll be on. Any other questions before we end the chat here? The coach's presser. I really do look more and more. If I was tan, I would really let's do this real quick.
Hey, Savage Rusty Spooner's here. For those of you who are wondering, the reason Rusty Spooner is a savage is because Long Beach Joe says so. Long Beach Joe said, Rusty Spooner, he's a savage.
Look at the picture below me. Am I Ulbrich?
Oh, yeah, you're right.
I just need a better tan. I haven't left the house though in months. I try not to. Nothing good happens outside in the world. So let's start looking ahead. When you look ahead at the Eagles, right? What do you see?
Yeah.
You see a team that can run the ball with Swift. You see a team with elite offensive line play. You see a team with an elite tandem at wide receiver. You see a team with a quarterback who has to turn the ball over a little bit. You know, Hurts isn't playing as well as he played last year. They're not putting teams away. Last year, they went up 17-0. They were up 30-0. They put you away, and they put you away quickly. They're not doing that this year. You know, I think it was 24-14 with the Rams the other day. Do you think the safety position gets exposed in this game? Goddard can be a matchup problem. Whitehead against Goddard, I think, could get exposed.
Well, is Whitehead going to be able to tackle? That's what I worry about that. Huh?
Wrap your fucking arms, man.
I mean, is Whitehead going to wrap his arms and tackle? That would be my concern. I mean, the guy doesn't know how to tackle.
This dropping your head and just lunging at people is Tony Adams takes some bad angles. You know, same thing with him. He tries to shoulder Chuck. I taught kids how to tackle from 5 years old to 13 in Pop Warner. You drive your shoulder into their thigh and you wrap. So that way, if you go to bounce off, you still can arm tackle their legs and bring them down. So I don't get why all of a sudden you get to the NFL and you forget good form with tackling because you think you're too big and strong to do something the right way. You want to have the highlight blow up hit. I don't get it.
But I think there's a chance they get exposed, but I don't think they have to. I think if the defensive linemen, if we scheme right to stop the run and we stack the box, it's not just the safeties. I mean, the linebackers, you know, we need them to step up and play well. We'll probably see more reps for Sherwood. And, you know, Dom will correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm guessing there's a chance based on who the opponent is that we're going to see more reps from Sherwood this game than we've ever seen. So I think that we're going to need our linebackers to really step up if we're going to stop the run. And then, but if the linebacker, you know, obviously you rely on a strong safety too. So I think we can get exposed, but we also cannot, what could save us from being exposed and make us very successful if our linebackers step up and really play well.
No, we didn't, Harlan. We didn't pass on Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter was drafted 9th by the Eagles. We didn't pick until 15.
Yeah, he wasn't.
We didn't pass on him.
No way we would have passed on him. We would have ran
the year before. We passed on Jordan Davis, but we didn't pass on Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter was gone before we selected.
But who did we take instead of Davis?
We took Sauce, and then we took Garrett.
Exactly.
I mean.
So no one's going to complain about that.
Yeah. Will they elevate Trey Dean over? I don't see that happening right now. I think they believe in Adams. He did miss a little bit of time. I don't think that's an option. If anything, Ashton Davis, I think, who's played well in a little bit, he picked off Mahomes. I think Ashton Davis would be up for more playing time over just elevating someone and putting him in above him. I think Davis has if anybody falters or gets injured, I think Davis is the next safety up, right? Would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's definitely, I mean, somebody got hurt. If someone faltered, it's Ashton Davis and that person becomes a backup. If enough guys get hurt, you'll see Trey Dean. But even when we had the injuries, when Adams was out, we didn't see Trey Dean elevated from the practice squad. So he's far from being elevated, which you know, shows us that he might
what
not.
An awful thing. Listen, Billy, I don't care who your friend is. That's a bad take.
They should elevate Trey Dean as my favorite player. Well, Billy, I first of all, I don't know. Did you watch? Are you a college football fan? Like, is there a reason why you love Trey Dean so much? Like, I don't know why. Are you saying that Trey Dean should be elevated because he's better than our other safeties? Because we don't have any evidence of that. Like, I know
probably a foodie and thinks it's related to Jimmy Dean.
Yeah, that would be if it was me. I don't know. I'm just saying Well, look, he's his favorite player. Maybe he loved him in college, but that doesn't mean they should do anything, Billy Bilstein. I don't want to upset you, but I don't know if I can agree with you. You know what I mean?
You ready?
Yes.
You ready back there? Go ahead, do your thing.
All right, everybody. You've been asking for him the whole doggone time we've been here. So let's get this mofo running.
The same for gangsters. Times has changed. Young niggas is aging, becoming OGs in the game.
No.
Changing to make way for these new names and faces.
We're having connection problems, so it's gonna be a little bit of a delay. Am I frozen?
Niggas get capped up and wrapped in plastic, zipped up in bags.
Can you hear me?
Happens, that's it. I've seen them come, I've watched them go, watched them rise.
Can you hear me?
Watch them blow. Watch them all blossom and watch them grow. Watch the lawsuits when they lost the dough. Best friends and money, I lost them both.
Ladies and gentlemen, I bring to you a man with children, a father. He's a man with a brain. He has something up here that a lot of us don't have. The ability to analyze, to prospect. He has the ability to wear hats, the ability to coach baseball, the ability to drive a car, the ability to eat. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the greatest prospecting analyst, sorry, Rusty, no offense, in the world! Tom C.
I had to remove my headphones. That was loud. Very funny. What's up, guys? I appreciate the new intro music, man.
Yeah, you're welcome. I hope that'll get flagged.
That smelled all like Nick.
That
fantastic.
How you guys doing? All right?
He's booing. We're doing good. We're doing good. I don't know how much of the show you heard.
I didn't actually.
I was running my mouth thinking because someone when I was talking about the scheme going against the Eagles, I had projected, and maybe you're going to say I'm completely wrong, that we might see more reps for Sherwood than we've seen all year.
Well, I have to say I'm not very happy about it, but I 1000% agree with you.
You see him on Goddard a lot?
No. I see him as the spy on Jalen Hurts a lot.
Okay.
I think that's how they'll use the spy. And as we get talking about our offense and our defense, that's one of the guys that I have kind of pegged as a possibility to utilize as a spy. Listen, the cat's out of the bag. We see it with our own eyes. The Jets have been, maybe the word abused is a little harsh, but for lack of better, so they have been abused by the quarterbacks escaping the pocket. There's probably no quarterback in this league this season that will be better than that, than Jalen Hurts, outside of maybe Josh Allen. It just happens to be, listen, the way our defense is, the aggressive forward pressing front line. If you don't win on your block, sometimes you get blocked out and it causes holes, and away they go. So
he'll tuck and run. He's got no issue tucking and going the second he sees an opening.
Yeah, well, he's not doing it nearly as much as he did last year. I mean, the last two seasons, that was part of the plan of the offense. But this year, this year, maybe because the offensive coordinator has changed, maybe they're just trying to run a little bit more of a mature offense. Jalen Hurts they've been trying to get him into more of a rhythm as a pocket passer, so he's been doing less running. Not to say that he won't run when the situation calls for it, and against the Jets defenses, especially, when we drop back, when we're dropping 7 back into zones, soft, spreading them out, covering, sideline to sideline on our zones. I mean, if the front, if you don't get to the quarterback with the front 4, it opens up holes. That's just simple mathematics. 5 blockers, 5 offensive linemen, 4 rushers. If you don't win and you don't get there, there's going to be a hole somewhere. And Jalen Hurts will make you pay. So to answer your question, Jeremy, I think we'll see a lot more Jamien Sherwood. He's the guy that I have pegged as the spy for Jalen Hurts. Now, that comes at a cost.
Yeah,
it comes at a cost because you're either going to have to take it, figure out who's not going to be on the field. I don't think at this point you can take Michael Carter off the field. I think he's got to play as many reps as possible. Arguably, I know the betting money might side with Quincy Williams, but I think there's a fair argument to say that Michael Carter might have been playing the best defense out of all the defensive players this year. Him and Quincy are right up there. Sauce is playing good as well. I know Sauce isn't. People are saying that he's having a bad season. I think that's crazy talk. Yeah, I think it's egregious. I think Sauce is playing great. But I think there's an argument to be said that Michael Carter is, if not the best, one of the best defenders that we have right now. He's just playing lights out. So it's hard to take him off the field. It depends on what they want to do. It depends on the offense that. It depends on really the game script, right? It depends on if they're playing with a big lead. You might see a lot more 12 personnel, bigger personnel. Michael Carter might come off the field, but early on in the game, or if by chance, it's a close game, or we're holding a lead, Philly's going to spread it out, and Michael Carter's going to be on the field, and that's where that balance is going to come in. Like, who's going to spy Jalen Hurts? It can't be Michael Carter, right? It can't be a defensive back per se, because he's probably too strong for them. And I know they did it last week a little bit with Russell Wilson with Bryce Huff, and I think Bryce Huff's not fast enough for Jalen Hurts, so it's a conundrum. I think the perfect blend would be one of the safeties or Jamien Sherwood, who is a converted safety.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. I'm going to be
See
right
Ashton
back.
Davis in that role at all, here and there?
I could see Ashton Davis in the role. I could see I could see Tony Adams. I could see Jordan Whitehead. But again, at what cost? If you bring Tony Adams up in the box to spy, who's playing the deep middle?
Yeah.
Because if you try to play A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith man across with no safety help, you're going to get burned.
Well, what about a 3 safety package where 2 are deep and then 1 is up in that middle linebacker? We walk somebody up, or
that's a possibility. But then again, at what cost does that come? You can't play 12 guys on the field. So who comes off? Is it Quincy Williams? Is it Michael Carter II? Do you only have three down linemen, which is a possibility, but that's just not in the Jets' forte.
So tell me, I'm worried about Goddard. I really am, because I think with Reed and Sauce, we match up nicely with Smith and Brown. I think that's premier cornerbacks against premier wide receivers. I'm really looking forward to that matchup. But aside from Hurts breaking the pocket, I'm concerned about Goddard. And how do you think we're going to attack that? And what do you think? What do you see them doing with him? And what do you think the focal point will be on him?
Well, excuse me. I hate to use this lingo, but the Achilles heel of the Jets. That's a play on words, guys.
Oh, we've had enough of that.
Yeah.
We've had enough of that.
The Achilles heel in years past of the Jets has always been covering the tight end.
Yeah.
But I think this year in particular, Quincy Williams and CJ Mosley, even though CJ's lost a step, they've done an adequate job in handling that. Now, we face New England. New England is a very heavy 12, 13 personnel team. They'll run the tight ends out, and their tight ends did make some plays. Obviously, we contained Travis Kelce. I don't think Travis Kelce had his best game. And I don't think they get much better than him. So I'm not that. Listen, he's the fourth option on that offense. Really, the fifth if you count Jalen Hurts and his running ability. Dallas Goedert is the fifth option on the team. The play goes through AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, and then into the backfield with DeAndre Swift. And then the fourth option is probably Dallas Goedert, and that's one hell of a fourth option to have. So I'm not necessarily worried about Dallas Goedert as much as I am really containing, making sure that Jalen Hurts doesn't break contain and beat us with his legs. Or
Goddard's coming off a great game. He had 8 for 117 and a touchdown on Sunday, and that's what got me thinking, like, holy crap, if he's getting in the rhythm, is there going to be a here we go again?
Yeah, listen, I mean, that's what good teams have, right? They have options. They have plenty of offensive options. I'm more concerned. I don't think that we have. Listen, I'm not saying I'm a huge fan of both Sauce and DJ Reed, but I think AJ Brown has a skill set that can combat those guys physically. He will win physically against both of those guys.
Yeah.
And
if you're looking at it from the Eagle perspective, you want to see, can Sauce physically hang with AJ Brown, right? Like, you want to test that. I think that's going to be something that they go at and they try to attack. Maybe a jump ball situation. They love to throw it up to him in the end zone and let him just go make a beast mode play.
Yeah.
I think that's something that they might try to take advantage of and say, can Sauce play that physical game that he doesn't really have, right? If you're putting an Eagle hat on, looking at the Jets, and all right, how are we going to get AJ Brown the ball? I'm going to throw a jump ball. I want to see, all right, can Sauce go play that physical game and go up and get it?
Yeah, but that's not his. I mean, listen, he's good. AJ Brown will beat you with his yak ability. You get the ball in his hand quickly and let him do the rest. The quick slants. He's a precise route runner, runs everything, every stem possible. His breaks off the end of his stems are phenomenal. So he's just a damn good player. Again, they want to establish the run first and then utilize that play action stuff to beat you. That's what Philadelphia wants to do.
We can't get 8 yards off the line either. I mean, they will throw the quick slants if we're 8 yards off the line, like we've done.
Yeah. They will do that. You're absolutely right. Listen, it's probably schematically and roster wise, Philadelphia is probably the toughest matchup for us. Zach Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Joe Montana, Jesus Christ, the quarterback. It's, like top to bottom. Their strengths are our weaknesses. They're very fast. They got an aggressive mobile quarterback who can hurt you both with his arm and with his legs. Doesn't bode well to our style of defense.
Elite offensive line too.
They got an elite offensive line. They got an elite defensive line. So they're it's just a tough matchup. It's really a tough matchup. So, like when our defense is on the field and their offense is on the field, we're going to have to contain. Listen, that's what it's gonna. This is gonna be a huge challenge and huge battle for both JFM, for JJ, for our linebackers that we can contain and limit what they can do on the run. We can't allow the big plays. We've been susceptible to the big play, especially early in the games. It seems that Brick has been adjusting pretty well at half, but I think we have to keep them to where to where our defense is strongest, right? And that's in those third and long situations where you're going to have to be precise, or you're going to, we're going to have a blown coverage of some sort or a missed opportunity to make a big play. So okay. I think shutting down, I think stopping the run and stopping Jalen Hurts' ability to run, containing him in that pocket is going to be vital if we're going to even stand a chance.
Valid.
Yeah.
Where do you see us attacking them? What parts of their defense do you think that we can try to exploit and go at?
Well, where they're susceptible, and even though the guys are good, he's showing his tattoo.
I had to oil it.
Where they're susceptible, it has been. I mean, they're battling some injuries as well. N'Kobe Dean hasn't played. The middle of their defense is a little bit susceptible. Their linebacker play, and their defensive backs. Although Slay is shut down, he's been a shutdown corner. He hasn't played at the level that he has the past 2 seasons. Same thing with Bradbury. What benefits them is that they're so good up front and they get to the quarterback so quickly that there's not a lot of time for quarterbacks to make plays. Yeah. So the teams that have had success against New England have done it vertically, and again, we talk about strengths and weaknesses.
Against Philly?
Against Philly, yes.
Okay.
What did I say?
New England.
I don't know why I said New England.
We're Jets fans, bro. They're always on our mind.
Against New England, against Philly. God damn it! Have had success vertically, right? They've had success with passing the ball down the field, and that's just hasn't been a strength of ours with Zach Wilson. I mean, listen, for as good as Zach played in Kansas City, and I think for someone who has really lost a lot of 100% support, but lost a lot of faith in Zach Wilson. I thought he played a great game in Kansas City. I thought he did not play good against Denver in a spot and an opportunity where he had an opportunity to shine. Now, some of it was his fault. A lot of it was his fault. Some of it was also a very, very ultra conservative game plan. They tried to get too cute on the conservative side. Okay. So you're gonna have to press. You're gonna have to push the ball. And it's gonna have to be quick. It's gonna have to be timing. You're gonna have to throw the ball. You're gonna have to throw the ball to spots before the receivers get there. You can't. You're not gonna have the time to throw receivers open. And Zach doesn't seem to be willing or capable of pulling those triggers in leading receivers open so far this year. So, we've been banking and getting lucky on those, busting those big plays. 70 yards from Brees and 80 yards from Brees and this and that. You're gonna need one of those, and you're gonna have to keep them. You're gonna have to pass the ball, keep them honest. You're gonna have to stretch the field vertically if you're gonna have any success against them.
When you've watched your film study, does Slay travel with the other team's number one? I know last week they had the Rams with Kupp came back and Nakua, so that's a fairly balanced. Does Slay stay one side of the field, or does Slay travel?
I can't say with certainty one way or the other. I haven't really paid all that much attention, to be honest with you, on what he's doing this year. Bradbury's been playing a little bit more in the slot than he has in years past. Okay, which I thought was very interesting. Let's see what they're doing in covers matchups. Hang on, I got it up here. I can look at. Bear with 1 second. I'm having really slow. So Darius Slay. Yeah, he stayed on the outside. He had Puka. He looks like he stayed to his side because he covered Puka Nakua 4 times, led up 2 receptions for 20 yards, and no touchdowns. And he covered Cooper Kupp 1 time or 2 times for 1 reception, 39 yards. So he let up some big plays. Bradbury let up a big play to Puka Nakua and a touchdown. They have a couple young kids on the outside that have been playing as well. Josh Jobe, Eli Ricks. Those guys are all seeing time on the outside while Bradbury's man in the slot. Maddox, their slot cornerback, has been hurt. So, yeah.
All right.
There's a
Knox
question.
got a question here for you. Yeah, go ahead, Dom. That's all you.
If you could change one thing that the coaching staff does in effort to improve the way we play the game, what would it be? On the offensive side, Knob, I would.
I'm taking bench Dalvin Cook off the table. You have to think of something else.
No, listen. I'm not that Cook hater. Listen, I
Gotcha.
think he was brought in to do a purpose. Now, some might say that $7 million, that purpose was way too much, but at this point, it's a sunken cost. It's not our money. It's paid. And I believe I talked about this last week. I really believe what Robert Saleh is saying in the fact that it makes sense that Cook didn't have a preseason, didn't have any of that stuff, coming off an injury, still getting his legs back. But in essence, he's there to spell our workhorse.
Yeah.
So take that aside. What I would do is, listen, I thought that for as good of a game Nathaniel Hackett called against Kansas City, I think he kind of reverted to old Hackett styles, or at least Zach Wilson led offense Hackett style against Denver, where it was very predictable. He ran out of the same formations. He passed out of the same formations. He knew exactly what was coming. It was very ultra conservative. And again, that might have been the type of game plan that they put in place because they knew that they were a better team than Denver. They said, we just need to get a lead and we're going to be able to, it's not that big of a deal. Just don't fuck it. Just don't fuck it up.
Get that lead, put a hat on a hat, and we can just outman them. Like, we don't have to get cute, right? A lot of power I with Borden leading the way for Hall in the backfield.
Mm-hmm. They ran a lot. They ran a lot out of 21 personnel, and they threw a lot out of 11 personnel with the tight ends split out wide. I think that was 90% of the offense. It was very, very predictable. What they did in Kansas City was they ran out of those pass sets and they passed out of the run sets, which kind of made it, at some point they had Kansas City on their heels.
Yeah.
So
I think that's a good point. You're going to have to do that to Philly, what you did to Kansas City, because Denver, the way they're giving up rushing yards, you just line up to block them and go for 200.
Yeah. So to answer the question, Knob, I think that's the one thing I think the coaching staff could do is, or I would do as coaching staff is I would, especially in a game like this where, listen, you're an underdog. The Jets are the underdogs. We're fighting in an uphill battle on both sides of the ball against a team like Philadelphia. Very, very talented, very well coached team in Philadelphia. So I think you're going to have to, kind of pull out all the stops, and you have to get that defense thinking. You can score points on that defense. Decent offense can score points on that defense. I just don't know if we're going to have the decent offense. Which offense is going to show up? Is it going to be the offense in Kansas City, or is it going to be the offense that we saw in Denver and New England? I don't know.
Okay.
So
here's a question from the Bradigan. What's up, Chris? So what is the Eagles' weaknesses? How do we beat them or even keep it close?
When we're on offense, I think the weakness is, is confuse them in your formations, in your sets, a lot of motion. They struggle for some reason. They struggle against bunch receivers, whether they're not passing stuff off or whatever their defensive schemes call for when you have, trips or three wide, bunch to a side, so on and so forth. So you're going to have to get creative. You're not going to, I just don't think that we're going to be able to just line up hat on hat and pound the ball like we tried to do against New England or like we did against Denver. I don't think that's going to succeed against Philadelphia. So, they have some weaknesses in the back half of their defense. I think that can be exploited. Can Zach Wilson exploit them? I don't know. That's still to be determined. And, on top of that, like we are going to have a pristine game up front. Our offensive line is going to have to play the best game of the year. And the past couple games, the offensive line has been good. Minus the first quarter in Denver, which they were a little off or a little sluggish. The offensive line has been pretty good, but they can come at you from, they're very comparable to the Jets in regard to the defensive line, the rotation and the guys that they can bring in and out, and they can come at you at many different ways. They have, they got the young kid for the rookie that they drafted from Georgia, who's a speed demon. They got Hassan Reddick, Nolan Smith. Hassan Reddick can get at it at the ends. We know what the other kid from Georgia, the young kid, the nose tackle, he's been doing. He's been a game.
Davis, Jalen Carter.
Jalen Carter.
Basically, anyone you name is from Georgia, who I know and I've rooted for.
Jalen Carter's been a game wrecker. The kid's a player. He's going to be, I don't know what McGovern struggles against the pass. McGovern this year in particular has struggled against the pass. Yeah. Lakin has struggled against the pass. Joe Tippmann has held up pretty well. But I think Joe Tippmann's going to probably see a lot more Jordan Davis, and they're going to use Jalen Carter in that 3 tech. At least if I'm Philly, I'm lining him up, between McGovern and Tomlinson and letting him just go to town over there.
Yeah. To add on to what you said before we move on to that next comment,
I wanted to just do a quick shout out to Spence, just so you have a history. Me and my brother were doing covering the Denver game, a reaction game, and Spence is a Bronco fan who watched and stayed with us, and he's been a supporter of the channel ever since. I haven't seen him in a while, so I just wanted to shout him out and say, hey, Spence, hope your kid is doing well, hope the family is good, and thanks for being here.
Yeah, that's good stuff. As much as I love Greg the Leg, I hope to only see him kicking extra points. Rodgers hinted at it on the McAfee show that we gotta convert these drives into touchdowns. Left a lot of points out there on the field. 5 field goals. You're missing 4 points on touchdown. You're missing 20 points. This game could have been, a 50-point game if we're converting in our red zones and getting the ball in the damn end zone. That's the goal. You can't kick field goals and beat Philly.
On Wednesdays, I do a all 22 film breakdown of the previous game with Green Bean's Patreons subscribers, and I broke down all of our red. Today's focus was Zach Wilson in the red zone, and really was Zach Wilson as a whole, like the good and the bad, and a lot of the red zone was just him. I mean, that game could have easily been
missed opportunities.
That game could have easily been 45 or 50 points. Think about it. Our offense scored 7 points. Our defense scored 9. Right? We had a safety and a defensive touchdown. That's 9 points. Our offense generated 1 touchdown. And then
let's get into that. What did you see on film? Did you see misreads, afraid to pull the trigger, poor play design? What do you attribute that to?
So all of the above, mainly points 1 and 2. I don't think Zach played it looked like he was playing he looked like he reverted back to scared Zach, and look, you look at the stats and 72% completion percentage and all that stuff is all great. It's all great. But the missed opportunities, whether it was there was one shot, one in the first quarter, right after we recovered the fumble off the punt. We drove, we got a couple first downs on the ground. We're in the red zone, 1st and goal from inside the 10. And the second down play, he missed Tyler Conklin completely wide open, standing alone in the end zone. He just made a bad read. He came off his first read on the outside, which was Lazardin's covered. And he moved directly to Garrett Wilson, who was cutting across on a slant across middle. And Garrett was open, but he didn't read the safety. There's one deep safety who's crashing in, and he tried to hit Garrett Wilson as he's crashing in. And I don't know if you remember, it was in the first quarter. It was a ball. It came out and quick. It bounced off his hands and bounced up. It was a little behind him. But Conklin was sitting wide open in the end zone. If he just gets through his progressions, he reads the keys that the defense is giving him. Safety's crashing. Let me go to my deep target because on a concept, on a drive concept like that, where you have an intermediate target, which was Lazard on the out. He had a short target and Garrett Wilson on the slant, and then he had a deep target on a post on Conklin. Conklin was wide open. So that's just one play. I mean, the Garrett Wilson on the second quarter before we stalled out and time ran out, he had Garrett Wilson who had, a good 2 yards of separation on the cornerback, and Zach tries to fire it in instead of, putting a little touch on it, leading him into the corner and letting Garrett run to the ball.
Is that the one where he was dipping behind Surtain?
Yes.
And he threw it too quick. Like it would look like he was in a slot and went towards the goalpost and then tried to break back out towards the pylon. That one bothered me watching it live.
If he had, like I said, it's like he made the right read. And he was, he didn't come off that read. That was the play. That's where he was going.
Yeah.
But he made a bad throw. It wasn't protection. It wasn't forced by the rush. It was, I'm gonna use my arm talent and zip this in there on a ball that he just needed to take a little something off, lead it into the corner where let your receiver go make a play on it. Zach also heard a lot of false footsteps. He had antsy feet, man.
Yes.
But then again, on the same token, on the plays where he had played with proper mechanics, he made some great throws.
Yeah.
That's what I think is the most frustrating thing about Zach Wilson is that, 1 out of every 4 times he shows you the talent that he has, but he just can't put it all together, man.
And that's been the struggle the frustrating part with him is getting him to be that consistent, do it one after the other and grow and evolve. Do you think that there's a chance that they mix in more using Zach's strengths, his mobility down in the red zone, where you fake it to Hall, you bootleg it, and you give him that run pass option where he's fast enough where if something opens up from the 12, he can maybe get to the end zone running it?
We've been saying that for 22 of Zach's 26 games played, and they haven't put into play yet. So
it's frustrating as hell. It's frustrating as hell because he is very willing to run with the ball. He's very physical. He's very aggressive. He has athletic talent. He'd be very dangerous running towards the end zone because you can't come off your guy because then he could throw. And
the problem is
throwing on the run.
The problem is with stuff like that when you want to get him out in space and let him, be athletic and make choices, is that you're trusting Zach to make choices. And I don't say that jokingly. I mean, the reality is that in 26 games he hasn't made the best, best choices. So,
but at doing that, you've said it yourself. We've all said it. He struggles with in the pocket, reading, trusting, releasing. Right.
Mm-hmm.
If you get him out and moving, at least you're giving that. We don't have that 20-yard loop around run to break away. Now you design it where now if he doesn't trust what he sees, your momentum's going forward and he can just step on the gas and go. I'm very surprised that this isn't something that they introduce.
Well, the problem that you face with that, Nick, and you're right. I'm not saying you're absolutely right, but the problem is that it's hard to do that with heavy boxes. It's hard to do that with 7 and 8 men up front. And the only way to loosen up those boxes and play against soft boxes is to challenge and win vertically. There hasn't been a team yet in 2 years now that has respected Zach's ability to beat them down the field.
Hey, can we see a jump ball to Lazard? Can we just, the guy's 6'5", can we just throw one jump ball to him? Like he jumped over Garrett Wilson after Garrett Wilson scored. How about we just try a lob up? Let's do something to put the advantage on our side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jets throwing a slant to Lazard, lob one up, let him go get it.
Billy Bilstein, we like Green Bean here. We don't want to insult other content providers, and I don't know why you're saying he's not even 60 years old, so I don't know why you're acting like he's over 60 or something. Anyway, so tame it down a little bit. Tame it down. I know you like Matt O'Leary. I know he's your guy, but come on, Green Bean's a friend of all of us, so come on. He's very talented. Anyway, go on.
Jets fans got a good point here in the chat, and it says Zach seems to play better off play action, and I agree with that. I think some of his best throws this season have been off of play action.
And
As
you've
a
seen
matter
them
of fact,
start the games with that too. You've seen them come out in the beginning, right, and try to get that going instantly.
well, he did in Kansas City, and that's what I said. And like it's in Kansas City, Hackett was zigging when they thought he was going to zag, and he was zagging when they thought he was going to zig.
Yeah.
But we didn't see that last game. And again, it could have been the mentality was play super conservative, take points as they come because we know that we know that Denver's not gonna beat us. So you can't have that same mentality. You can't go in there with the same game plan. If we go in with the same game plan that we did for Denver offensively, there's not a snowball shot in hell that we're gonna win this game.
Agreed. We can't just line up and beat them.
No.
Where we got to be creative. We got to get them on their heels. We got to misdirection. We got to do some reverses to Gibson. We got to do something creative.
I don't know about the reverses and stuff. I'm not necessarily
or the jet sweep, something to get the ball in Gibson's hands. Do something, right? And then later in the game, you fake it and then hit that pitch on the backside to Hall. Do something to freeze them.
What I'd like to see, what I would like to see, which we haven't seen at all, barely at all this year, is I'd like to take advantage of the strong pass rush that Philadelphia has, and let's beat them on some screens and stuff like that. We've thrown a couple little middle screens that have really amounted to nothing. We've tried a couple tight end screens that have netted us very few yards, but really set the screenplay up, get some blockers out in space, and do it. Hackett did it in Green Bay for years. Aaron Rodgers utilized those running backs out of the backfield for years.
Yeah.
I don't know. So,
what?
No, I was reading Billy Bilstein's
I don't know why.
What is
so
it's the guard.
let me ask. We're down to 10 minutes left. Give us your prediction. We'll go around. We'll start with you for the crystal ball segment. Give me your thoughts and summarize everything you've talked about. How do you see this game playing out with the final score prediction, sir? We'll let you go first.
I don't like to give predictions. I'll say this: for the Jets to win, they're going to have to play a flawless game offensively. They're going to have to play up to the level they played against Kansas City offensively. I thought that was almost a flawless game offensively. They're going to have to play that level of offense. They're going to have to contain the quarterback and not let him beat you with his legs, and you're going to have to turn the ball over. You're going to have to turn Jalen Hurts over at some point and stop drives and gain momentum that way. I think this game could get ugly quickly if we come out for 4 straight series, 3 and out, run, pass. So listen, I'm not going to predict the Jets to lose. But if I was going to predict the Jets to lose, this would be the game.
Gotcha. All right, then give me this, since you don't want to put a score on it. If we were to win, give me a surprise player who steps up and has a big play or a big moment that can be a difference maker. Not like Sauce or Garrett or Brees. Like, give me a guy who you think could have like a game-changing play to swing it in our favor.
I think if we win, we're gonna. I'll say this. How's about I give you a positional group? Okay. I think for our offense to really reach that high level that we're going to need to win this game, I think you're going to need to see a lot of production from the tight ends. I think it's going to be a heavy dose of Conklin and Rucker and Uzama in the pass game.
Similar to Kansas City, right? When we got them all involved.
Get them all involved and keep them involved. Absolutely. Okay. Because that's where, like I said, that's where I think that you can beat that Philadelphia team, and that they're a little bit softer in the middle due to injuries and just the way their team lines up. They're strong on the outside, on the corners, and they're super strong up front. They're a very good run defense. So it's a challenge. It's going to be a challenge. So I think you're going to have to really take advantage, you're going to have to really scheme open and get Conklin one-on-one on linebackers, get Ruckert one-on-one on safeties and stuff like that, and use them advantageously in the offense.
All right, I like it. Jeremy, if you're done rubbing your extremities there, do you care to chime in?
Look, I like what Dom said about not wanting to predict your team loses. So I'm gonna say, and I think I said it even with Aaron Rodgers before he got hurt. This was the worst matchup on the schedule, in my opinion, from the offseason. Like I never liked this matchup based on the team we've been the last couple of years and the direction we're heading. I actually liked the Kansas City matchup before Aaron Rodgers went down. I remember really liking that matchup, just where our strengths are, and that kind of thing. So this is it's very difficult for me. So what I'm going to say is it's going to be very, very difficult for us to get a win. We're a heavy underdog right now, and the point spread is not wrong. I did not agree with the point spread for the Denver game. I felt we were a favorite for the Denver game, and I do not agree. I think it was crazy that we were not the favorites, even if it was in Denver, because I think they're a horrible football team, and even without Aaron Rodgers, we're a much, much superior team to Denver. But with the Eagles, I'm not going to argue the spread. Like they should be heavily favored against us. They really should. I'll just say that to win the game, I think we have to have the Kansas City Chiefs Zach Wilson. Like we have to have that version of him. He probably has to have his best game as a Jet, which is a little bit more hopeful. I don't think it's as small of a chance as people think because he did it recently. He played at that level. So I think he has to play like that. I think we have to get turnovers. I think that for momentum, I think turnovers, like if we get a strip fumble or something, interception, some kind of turnover momentum kind of thing would help. But I really think the aside from turnovers and Zach playing well, the other thing I'll say is we cannot start this game the way we've been starting football games. Like we cannot fall behind early, otherwise just kiss it goodbye. So we've got to come out and play the best first quarter of football than we've played all year.
And I would say this, I'd add to that, Jeremy. I agree with everything you said, but very unlike the Jets, I go out, I win the coin toss, I take the ball. I know the Jets always defer and they want the ball in the second half.
I said that Monday on the Victory Show.
Take the ball, show them, hey, listen, you got, we got Zach, and we're gonna shove it right down your throats. Establish something offensively right from the get-go. Now they probably won't do that. That's what I'm saying. I would do. That's what I would do, and that's how I think you can get them on their heels. Because if the defense, I mean, we've never been a first quarter team. We have never been a first quarter team. So I would like to see us kind of change those ways. Let's control the first quarter. Let's dominate the first quarter.
All right. So
the tush push.
Otherly shove. That sounds a little more.
Yeah, I don't know if I have an opinion on it. I mean, listen, it's legal right now. They got.
I want to see Breece Hall with the Williams brothers behind pushing us. I don't care. I am a maniac, as you both know. I will put a score on this game. I believe that the New York Jets will win this game and shock a lot of people. And I'm going to put 24-23 on it late, and Zach drives them down the field, and Michael Carter, the running back, finally breaks one and puts us in field goal range, and Greg the Leg steals it as time expires, and the Jets win 26-24 on another 4 field goal game from Greg Zuerlein. That's my prediction, 26-24. I can only imagine what that would pay in FanDuel with the exacta.
Can he get to 26?
Yeah, 2 touchdowns, 4 field goals. Boom.
Yeah, you're right.
I did the math, bro. I had plenty of time to think this out, and I was using the fingers to count and everything.
I'm sure it took all the math and
Shut up! I don't know. The way we played with no fear against Kansas City and what they saw they could do in the last 3 quarters, I think they figured out a way to start this game out early. No pitch count on Brees has me feeling completely different about this team. And if you can get that going and you can get the play action going and you can create some things and move the pocket and get Zach favorable throws in a favorable situation instead of a sitting duck in the pocket, chip CJ Uzoma on Mitchell's side and let Zach roll out that way, cross Wilson deep with Gibson underneath. Do something we haven't seen before. Yeah. I just think that I think this team, I know this fan base is hungry, and I know the energy is going to be there. The home games, the crowd has been fucking electric, man. And I just think that they're not going to go and lose another game at home. I think the home field advantage that the fan base is creating, I was there for the Patriot game. I was there for the Kansas City game. I was outside for the first half of the Buffalo game. I just don't think you can waste that fan base energy. And I hate everything Philadelphia. So I don't want to see those people be happy about anything ever. Next to New England, New England is the asshole of America, and Philly is the crusty, stale armpit. So I don't want to see any of these people ever happy.
Listen, let's hope this, okay? Let's hope that Philly is just looking right past us. Their schedule coming up. They play Miami next. They play at Washington, and Washington gave them their best game. Washington should have beat them. Sam Howell went bonkers against that defense. Right? Their outside corner, we talked about Slay and Bradbury. Good day. Sam Howell was 90% passing when he was throwing at the outside. 11 targets at Bradbury, 10 receptions. 9 targets at Bradbury, 7 receptions. So Sam Howell tore them up. So they go Miami, at Washington, Dallas, at Kansas City, Buffalo, San Francisco, at Dallas, at Seattle. That's Philadelphia's next
6
whatever.
or 7, right?
Yeah. So hopefully they're looking past us lowly Jets, right? And they're worrying about the Dolphins. How are they going to stop, the greatest show on surf?
Nobody's stopping the 49ers. I really believe that the 49ers run the table. They get past that Philly game. I know you got to worry about going to Seattle, so it's a tough place to play. But, man, that 49er team, if they stay healthy and there's no major injuries to that roster, I do not see an NFL team lining up and defeating them. I really don't. I mean, they are built to perfection. With the line, with the weapons, with the scheme, like Purdy, there's a guy wide open for Purdy every single time.
Yeah, I don't know who.
It's really impressive the way they're playing.
I don't know who made this schedule for Philly, but they started New England, Minnesota, Tampa, Washington, Rams. 5 not poor teams, but not the greatest.
I would have loved that.
And the Jets. Let's call it what it is. We'd probably fall in that mix. Then they have.
We were supposed to have Rodgers, right? So
yeah,
I mean, we were
the
beginning of that gauntlet. We have Rodgers.
Then they have 9 powerhouses, and then they end against the Giants, the Cardinals, and the Giants.
Wow.
So,
all right, everyone. Dom, thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
Again, thanks for coming on. Thanks for talking about the matchup coming up against Philadelphia. Of course, I'll be watching and doing the watch reaction party with Green Bean. We'll be back on his channel, Green Bean Jets Fan. We'll not be on Jets Talk. We'll be on Green Bean Jets Fan. Green Bean is out of YouTube prison. He is back. So we'll be back on his channel on Sunday. Proud New York Jets fan, pumping out crappy content. Sometimes I come in and I try to pick up the quality a little bit.
God damn. And this is why you don't give me the controls, because when you talk trash about me, I could do something about it.
That was phenomenal.
GreenBeanJetsFan.com. GreenBeanJetsFan.com to see Dom and read some of his articles. And if you become a Patreon of the Green Bean Jets Fan, you'll discover Dom's talent the way I did. I realized that Dom was something special as a Patreon, listening to him talk about prospects, coming into the league, talking about their game. So
I'm still waiting to be convinced. I haven't seen it yet. I know you talk about it and others do. I haven't been convinced yet.
But yeah, so that'll about do it. Thanks everybody again, and we'll see you next week. I might not be here. It might be Nick running the show. So if that's the case, it's because I'll be traveling. I'll actually be in New York. So I'm excited about that. Go home, hit some old spots.
Make sure you subscribe to Proud New York Jets fans, just in case I do it on my channel on Wednesday. That'll be to be determined. But if we do it over there, make sure you're subbed up.
Yep.
And Dom, we'll talk. We'll figure something out, me and you, to do if he's not there.
Thanks, guys.
Till then, everybody, peace out.
And now, welcome to Pride and Chaos.
Welcome to the darkest year of our adventures. Oh, yeah!
And now, give it up for Jeremy and Rick.